Hello there, ladies and gentlemen, and welcome to the daily discussion for the 29th of September 2014. If you have any ideas for topics, you can leave them in the comments below, or just use the links in the description to contact me. My name is Tuskeh, and today we shall be discussing the caster changes in Warlords of Draenor. So, you can no longer move while casting, mostly. So let's discuss exactly what this means for casters, because I know a big one involves my class, which is the Elemental Shaman. It's kind of my main class, although I am considering going Mage. I am considering that. Well, I'll cover that in a later date. But for now, Elemental Shaman. Can't cast Lightning Bolt while moving anymore. And really, this is part of a big change that a lot of casters are going to get come Warlords of Draenor, come 6.0, which is really close now. So, a lot of spells that you can cast while moving, so Lightning Bolt and things like that, will be removed. Well, not removed, you won't be able to cast them while moving anymore. And this really is kind of interesting because it's pushing casters in a new direction. In Vanilla and Burning Crusade, and even Wrath of the Lich King, really, this only came about recently, this whole cast while moving thing. Casters had to kind of sit there and fire things at the enemy. And then when they had to move, they had to stop doing it, cast instant spells, and then plant their feet again and start casting again. And really, a lot of classes have started moving away from that, and I think that that's bad. I kind of agree with what Blizzard's idea here is. They've talked about it in the past that the whole idea with casting while moving is a little bit upside down. The whole idea of a caster is that you have to plant your feet and start casting and casting and casting, and then move, see what you can do to fill in with your rotation with instant cast spells, and then stand still and continue doling out the death. This is really the main downside that ranged have compared to melee, because melee can keep doing their damage on the move, and this is one of their big upsides, and really recently that's kind of gone out the window. Ranged have been more powerful in just about every single fight in Siege of Orgrimmar, just about, and really they are just awesome. Having ranged DPS is really good, and having too many melee can just screw you over. That's not really because ranged are so much more powerful, it's more because having too many people in melee screws up mechanics. But really, the major downside that ranged should have compared to melee is that they can't do their DPS while moving, and that's kind of gone out of the window. I mean, when it comes to the Elemental Shaman, I can do my full rotation while moving with Spirit Walker's Grace. That isn't going to change come Warlords of Draenor. It's a cooldown, but the ability to cast Lightning Bolt while moving is massive. It gives me a spammable spell I can use while moving, and that really is very powerful for the Elemental Shaman, being able to constantly cast while moving. It's a really powerful part of it, and I know Warlocks can do something similar, but the whole idea of casting while moving is a bit strange to me. It's never been something that a lot of classes have been able to do a lot, but it's really gone in that direction with Mr. Pandaria, and to a lesser extent Cataclysm. I'm glad that they're going back to making it more about standing still and casting things, because it promotes not jumping around, really. It promotes thinking about your position tactically and carefully, and it promotes thinking about different ways to reach a safe place so that you can continue DPSing in as quick a time as possible. And I think that that ups the difficulty of the game a little bit, because if you've constantly got a decent spell to cast while moving, like Lightning Bolt, then moving isn't really that big of a deal. But if you can't do that, if you have to think about what spells you can use while moving, then you have to consider more where you're standing and more how you can get to certain locations faster, or what you can stand in and what you can't stand in, and how you can avoid mechanics as closely as you can. It just ups the skill level, in my opinion. It ups the skill ceiling, so that you have to think more about where you're going to be, because good ranged DPSers are going to be in the right location all the time. I mean, I already believe that a good ranged DPSer should be able to do that anyway, but really the whole idea of casting while moving reduces that skill ceiling. Your ranged DPSers now in Mr. Pandaria, it's going to be interesting to see how they cope with the changes, because suddenly positioning is way more important than it used to be, and suddenly, and even more interestingly in my opinion, I think, a whole bunch of new spells become available. So think about the Elemental Shaman, for instance. What can we do while moving that isn't Lightning Bolt? So we have our shocks, our instant cast shocks, and we have our unleash elements. That's kind of it. And we have totems as well, but they don't really provide any kind of big DPS benefit. You could refresh your searing totem, or place your fire elemental totem, which, you know, the fire elemental is a cooldown, and the searing totem doesn't do that much at the moment. That may change in Warlords of Draenor, not sure. Hope it does, because I like the searing totem. I like the idea of it. It's just not that good at the moment. And you don't really use unleash elements that much unless you're in high gear. But suddenly, you can't cast Lightning Bolt while moving anymore, and your shocks don't share cooldowns. Well, a couple of them do, but you have more of them available on a cooldown period now. So while you're moving, you can cast one shock, and then another shock, and then you can use Unleash, and then you could use... Actually, I wouldn't do that. I would cast one shock, Unleash, then use another shock, and then maybe replace your Searing Totem or something like that. But that's 3 or 4 global cooldowns that you have available to cast spells that you wouldn't use now, because otherwise it would just be Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt, Lightning Bolt. And I know that the removal of Lightning Bolt is a thing that a lot of people are not happy about, but I think it's really good. It will allow Elemental Shaman to do more stuff on the move in terms of casting spells. It may not allow us to do more DPS on the move, but it will certainly up the gameplay a little bit. I mean, I'm happy about that. I think that gameplay and having fun should take precedence over numbers any day of the week. I really do. I mean, there are, of course, downsides to this. It can really suck, and it can make you feel a little bit less powerful to not be able to cast while moving, and it doesn't really make sense from a lore standard. Oh, suddenly we can't cast this while moving anymore. There's no lore explanation for it, which isn't really a big deal. I don't think anyone's complaining about it in terms of lore, because really, being able to cast anything while on the move has never really been part of the lore. I mean, think about any boss that casts something while on the move. It's very rare, so I think that makes a little bit more sense in terms of lore, but again, it's not that much of a big deal. We're talking gameplay mechanics here. And it can suck to feel a little bit less powerful because you can no longer cast on the move. But I think that you can counteract that by upping your skill level. By having more things to do while moving and figuring out the optimal way to keep up your DPS while moving, you will be able to feel more skilled, I think. You'll be able to think, okay, I can't cast Lightning Bolt anymore, and so now I have to think about this, and this. And when you pull it off while you're moving and you think, okay, I have to move 20 yards in this direction, that'll be 3 global cooldowns. So I'll use this spell, and then Unleash, and then I'll use this spell, and then I'm at my location, and then it'll be just in time for my Lava Burst to come off cooldown. And when you pull that off, when you pull that kind of maneuver off, I think it'll be really, really awesome, and you'll feel really great about it. So I think that's a benefit that it really has. I think it has the chance to make the gameplay much more interesting, and I believe that it will allow for a higher skill ceiling, which will make it more fun. And this is something important to remember. The classes have changed a lot throughout World of Warcraft. They really have. There's been sweeping changes across all of the different classes, and people didn't like some parts of it. People liked some parts of it, people didn't like other parts. And the parts that they didn't like, eventually people forget about them. Not being able to cast Lightning Bolt on the move anymore kind of sucks now, but a year from now, we'll probably forget about it. We'll just be like, okay, this is what we're like now. This is what all the casters are like. Because remember, and this is important, the removal of being able to cast Lightning Bolt on the move is not a nerf. Blizzard has repeatedly said in the past that they believe that too many spellcasters, too many ranged casters can cast while on the move, and they don't like that. They believe that there's not as much skill in that, which is perfectly understandable. And of course, I haven't really talked about the healing changes at all, because they've changed pretty much every instant cast heal spell to have a cast time. And of course, you can't cast while moving anymore, so it really, really ups the skill ceiling for some of those. And I have been listening to a couple of Mike Preach Wow's videos about what he thinks about some of the different healers, and the fact that you can't cast while on the move anymore has changed the classes quite significantly. So if you're a healer, be wary of that. Be ready for the big changes, because they're going to be coming. But overall, whether you're a DPSer or a healer, I think that it's not that big of a deal. I think that a year from now, we'll just forget about it, and that we'll go on with this new system of doing things, and they'll expand it from there. I don't think Blizzard are going to go back on their word and have too many instant cast heals or too many different ways of casting while moving anymore. I think that they're just going to go down this road, and this is the way that combat in World of Warcraft is going to be from now on. And I think that they're going to try and make it fun, and they're going to try and make it skill-based, and they're going to try and make it interesting. And if they don't, then the community will smack them in the back of the head and say, this isn't fun, this isn't challenging, or it's boring. And then they will change it. So I wouldn't worry about it. I think that Blizzard is not a company that will ignore the people that they make games for, and I believe that this whole not being able to cast things on the move anymore isn't going to be that big of a deal in the future. So I say, calm down, take it in your stride, and see how it feels to play. Because I've watched Mike Preachwow's Elemental Shaman video, and he has said that the removal of Lightning Bolt on the move is weird at first. And a lot of other spells that you can cast on the move now, but won't be able to, will of course feel weird. But once you get past that, it feels natural and it feels fine. So just go with that. That's what I say. Trust in the fact that Mike Preachwow knows what he's saying and that Blizzard know what they're doing. That's kind of what we're relying on here. So let's hope they don't screw it up. I'm pretty sure they won't. One last note, if you're a hunter, this doesn't really affect you because you're a hunter, you fire arrows, and I don't like hunters. I think I don't like hunters more than I don't like warlocks. That's a pretty big thing to say, but I think Hunter is now my least favorite class in all of World of Warcraft. Sorry, Hunters out there, but I've been leveling too many low-level characters and getting pissed off at too many Hunters being like, I cast one spell and one-shot everything. Sorry, a little bit ranty there, but let's just conclude the video, shall we? That's it for today's daily discussion. I hope you enjoyed it and found it helpful. A little bit short today. It's Monday, what can I say? I will have more WoW lives on the way. I have a couple of good ideas for that, and we will stave off the winter Warlords of Draenor. So if you have any suggestions for topics, or you wish to send me your questions to answer on the daily discussion, you can contact me using the links in the description, or you can just leave a comment. Thank you very much for watching, and I wish you the best of luck with your gaming endeavors.